I'm not a fan of Botox. I have no judgment. If anyone wants to do it, that's totally cool, but it's definitely not for me. I've never injected it into my face, but I have injected it under my arms for hyperhidrosis when I was a teenager. So around 17, 18, it was really popular at that time to do Botox injections there. So like all the celebrities were doing it. It was in all the magazines. And so I decided to do it before my prom, and I did it. And like, I thought I was not going to sweat at all, but within a couple of weeks, I was still sweating just as much as before, so it didn't work. So I went back to my dermatologist. He did another round of it. I don't know how much he put in there. I wasn't paying attention to these things at that time. And basically the next day, my lymph nodes under my arms got swollen like golf balls. They were like humongous and they hurt. They were just so painful. And that really freaked me out. Like at the time, I wasn't thinking, like I didn't know where my lymph nodes were. I was like a teenager. I wasn't paying attention to these things, not realizing it's probably not a good idea to inject a toxin into an area filled with lymph nodes. But anyway, my lymph nodes would swell on and off for years. I also developed an autoimmune disease shortly after the second injection, which you can't see it now, but I had like a huge piece of like scar tissue here. Even though the skin wasn't damaged, it was just adjacent to the site, and it was just like a sheet of collagen. If you poke around on these like Botox side effect forums, you'll find that a lot of people develop autoimmune diseases after they're injected with Botox. So after doing some research, I even had this lawyer on my podcast. His name is Ray Chester. So definitely search this episode. It's called Botox, What Your Doctor May Not Tell You. And he talks about several cases. I think he, had over 50 cases against the makers of Botox for very serious or fatal side effects from using Botox. So, there was this one case of a doctor actually who did cosmetic Botox in her face. First time she was fine. Second time she was paralyzed from the waist down, like basically had to learn how to walk again. So she won the case, like tens of millions of dollars. And because of that case, Botox now carries a black box warning, which is basically reserved for the riskiest drugs. And it means that if you take this drug, it's take at your own risk. So if something happens to you, no matter what happens to you, you cannot sue the makers.